Angela Martinez skipped down the sun-warmed sidewalk, her sneakers slapping the pavement in cheerful rhythm, her backpack bouncing against her spine with each buoyant step. The late afternoon sun spilled golden light across the quiet suburban neighborhood, wrapping everything in a soft amber glow. Shadows stretched lazily across driveways and manicured lawns, long and lean like sleepy cats basking in the warmth. At 12, Angela cherished this part of the day with a fierce kind of joy, those unscheduled, unchaperoned hours after school that felt wide open and endless, like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for her to decide what came next. This was her kingdom, the wild oak tree in her backyard with its knotted limbs perfect for climbing, the shallow creek behind the cul-de-sac where slick stones dared her to leap, and the maze of fences and hedges where flashlight tag transformed into epic nighttime battles. These were the hours where Angela felt most herself, untamed, daring, and electric with the thrill of freedom. As she passed by Mrs. Landon's perfectly pruned rose bushes, the scent of blossoms heavy in the air, Angela absently scratched the back of her neck. A tiny bump was forming beneath her dark ponytail, just at the edge of her hairline. She hardly gave it a second thought, probably just another mosquito bite. Summer always brought a swarm of buzzing tormentors, mosquitoes, gnats, those nearly invisible no-see-ums, living near the edge of the woods. Bites were just part of the deal, a small price to pay for adventure. That evening, while she helped set the dinner table, the itch that had started as a mild annoyance had deepened into something more insistent. Like a mosquito bite that refused to be forgotten, she reached up again. Fingertips grazing the irritated skin, the bump felt warmer now, tender. "Mom," she called across the kitchen, angling her head to show the spot. "I think something bit me." At the counter, Isabel Martinez didn't look up from the carrots she was swiftly chopping, her hands moving with mechanical efficiency. Her voice came out flat, worn thin by long shifts at the hospital and the pressure of online coursework stacked on top of everything else. "Just put some calamine lotion on it, Mia." "Probably a mosquito. Or a spider. You're always crawling through the bushes." Angela sighed, not protesting. She quietly placed the silverware in straight, orderly lines, aligning forks and knives with careful precision. The moment passed like so many others did, fleeting and unnoticed. She knew her mom was overwhelmed, always balancing too much with too little time. Angela didn't want to be one more thing that needed fixing. But the itch only got worse. During dinner, it pulsed, a persistent, prickling throb beneath her skin. By bedtime, the bump had become a pressure point, sore and strange, like something was trapped under the surface. When she awoke the next morning, the sensation had shifted into alarm. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, Angela felt her breath hitch. The bump had swelled overnight, now the size of a grape, skin stretched taut and inflamed. It was tender to the touch, radiating heat. Gingerly, she pressed around it. A thick bead of yellowish pus oozed to the surface, and she recoiled in disgust. "Gross," she muttered, grabbing a tissue to wipe it away. The mirror reflected her wrinkled nose and uneasy eyes. At lunch, while tying her hair back into a ponytail, her best friend Lily spotted the swelling. "Whoa, Angie," Lily exclaimed, leaning closer to inspect it. "That looks seriously infected." Angela tried to wave it off, even as pain flared across the back of her neck. "My mom says it's nothing," she replied with a forced shrug. Probably just a zit or something, but deep down, she wasn't so sure. That night, sleep eluded her. Every shift of her head made the lump throb harder, the ache turning sharp and insistent. It wasn't just painful, it was invasive, foreign. By 2:17 a.m., unable to bear it any longer, Angela pushed her covers aside and crept out of bed. She padded across the hallway, each step cautious, the chill of the tiles seeping into her bare feet. The bathroom light flickered on with a soft hum, casting a pale glow over the sink and mirror. Angela leaned in close, her reflection stared back, pale and drawn, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. And then she saw it. The lump had grown again, now roughly the size of a marble, round and swollen. The skin surrounding it was raw and angry, stretched so tightly it glistened. At the center was a darkened core, ominous and strange. Her heart thumped heavily in her chest as she leaned closer, her breath fogging the mirror. And then, it moved, just beneath the surface, a subtle shift, like the ripple of something alive, squirming just under her skin. Angela froze, her breath hitched. The bump wasn't just infected, something was inside, a tiny flicker. Barely there, but real. Angela froze. Something was moving beneath her skin. The lump had grown again, now the size of a marble, glistening under the stark bathroom light. The skin stretched tight and feverish, flushed an angry red that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heart. But it wasn't the size that made her stomach knot. It was the movement, subtle, fluttering, a whisper of life inside her flesh. By Friday, the unease had become agony. Her entire body ached. Her limbs felt heavy, as if gravity had grown stronger just for her. Her forehead burned, and her thoughts came slow and fragmented, like words from a book underwater. She barely noticed the science test in front of her, her pencil unmoving in her hand. In the hallway, Marco from art class did a double take. His eyes widened, locking on the back of her neck. "Dude," he muttered, half horrified, half fascinated. "That looks like something out of Alien." Angela winced. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone after school and typed a message to her mom. "Can we go to the doctor? My neck is bad." The reply came quickly but without warmth. "Not until Monday. Put ice on it. I'll check it when I get home." But Isabel didn't make it home until after midnight. She stepped through the door in her wrinkled scrubs, name badge askew, face drained and ghostly with exhaustion. Angela was already asleep, curled beneath damp sheets, her pillows soaked with sweat and fear. By Sunday, fear had become full-blown terror. Angela lay trembling beneath her blanket, soaked in fever, her neck pounded with an ugly, living beat. Her heart thudded against her ribs, each breath shallow and strained. She reached up with trembling fingers and touched the lump, and felt it, a slow, undeniable squirm. She bolted upright. Panic flooded her limbs like electricity. Grabbing her phone, she turned on the flashlight and stumbled to the bathroom, her breath sharp and uneven. The mirror didn't lie. The lump was now the size of a ping-pong ball, grotesquely swollen. The skin had stretched thin, nearly translucent, and was marbled with inflamed veins. It shone wetly under the fluorescent bulb. Beneath it, something moved, not subtly this time, but boldly. It writhed. Angela's mouth opened in a silent scream as the center of the bump began to bulge outward. A small tear opened in the skin, then something black pushed through, thin, segmented, twitching, a leg, a spindly, insect leg. Angela's scream shattered the silence, echoing through the house like a siren. Within seconds, Isabel burst into the bathroom, half awake, her eyes wide with confusion and alarm. She took one look, and stopped cold. "Oh my God," she whispered, up close. The truth was unmistakable. The lump on Angela's neck twisted with movement, like a nest of worms struggling beneath cellophane. It bulged outward as if her skin could no longer contain it. They drove to the ER in stunned silence. Angela slumped in the passenger seat, her face pale and glistening with fever. At the hospital, everything moved fast, harsh white lights, the beep of machines, a flurry of nurses in scrubs, paperwork shoved into Isabel's shaking hands, a gurney wheeled through automatic doors. Angela gripped her mother's hand like it was the only solid thing left. Dr. Reynolds, a calm-faced woman in blue scrubs, examined the swelling. Her expression tightened. "We're going to numb the area," she said gently. "Angela, you're very brave. Just hold still for me." Angela nodded, barely breathing. The sting of the injection brought fresh tears to her eyes. She turned her head, unable to watch. Isabel didn't turn away. She couldn't. The scalpel sliced the swollen skin with surgical precision. The first cut released a thick gush of pus, foul-smelling, yellow, and hot. Then came the legs, 6 of them, twitching and slick. They emerged from the wound, glossy and jointed, black and shining like lacquered wood. The creature forced its way out of Angela's neck with a grotesque, wet pop, trailing blood and fluid. It was a bed bug, but not like any Isabel had ever seen. It was enormous, nearly an inch long. Its abdomen distended with Angela's blood, translucent and pulsing. Dr. Reynolds caught it with a pair of forceps and held it up, her face a mask of horror. One of the nurses turned away and gagged audibly. Another backed into the wall, face drained of color. Angela sobbed, tears streaking down her cheeks as her mother cradled her head. And in that moment, the emergency room, so often filled with the dramas of strangers, became a crucible for something unthinkable. A living thing had been growing inside a child's body, nesting, feeding, and now, it was out. Angela broke down in sobs, her small frame shaking as the pressure in her neck finally released. The pain had lessened, but the terror still clung to her like damp clothes. Cold, suffocating, inescapable, Isabel wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her tightly. Her own heart cracking with every shudder of Angela's shoulders. Guilt settled into her bones like lead, dense and unmoving. But the horror wasn't over. The next morning, a pest control team arrived at their apartment, dressed in full protective gear. Hoods, gloves, masks, boots. They looked like astronauts preparing to step onto hostile terrain. Angela had been sent to her grandmother's for the day, a fragile precaution, while Isabel followed the inspectors from room to room. Her nerves stretched taut. They peeled back sheets, lifted mattresses, pulled furniture from walls, shined flashlights into every crevice. What they uncovered made Isabel stagger back, one hand flying to her mouth. Dozens of bed bugs. They were embedded deep in the seams of Angela's mattress, their tiny bodies squirming as light hit them. They scuttled behind the peeling wallpaper near her headboard. Worst of all, they were inside her beloved childhood stuffed bear, the one she had cradled to her chest every night since preschool, the one she'd named and whispered secrets to. Isabel braced herself against the doorframe, nausea churning in her stomach. Her mind flickered back to that weekend trip months ago. A quick visit to her nursing school orientation. 2 budget-conscious nights in a dingy motel. She remembered the itchy sheets, the sour smell in the room, the threadbare carpet worn down to its backing. She'd brushed off her unease at the time, thinking only of tuition, rent, groceries, always choosing what to sacrifice. Now she saw the true cost, not in dollars, but in damage. The exterminators returned that afternoon, silent and precise. Their hands moved swiftly, their presence cold and clinical. Everything that could harbor pests, clothing, linens, curtains, stuffed animals, was sealed in thick black plastic. Labeled and removed like contaminated evidence. Angela's bedroom was emptied, stripped of softness, childhood, familiarity. Her safe space now felt abandoned, sterile, hollow. Her recovery wasn't fast. Each morning brought new rituals of healing, Isabel carefully cleaning the wound, applying antibiotic ointment, smoothing down gauze with hands steadier than they felt. Angela would stand silently at the mirror, gaze fixed on the angry red scar beneath her hairline. The swelling had subsided, and the pain was gone, but the mark remained, a brutal reminder of what had lived inside her, what had made a home of her body. At school, the world didn't know how to respond. Some classmates avoided her altogether, their whispers following her down hallways like shadows. Others stared too long, their curiosity edged with revulsion. But not everyone recoiled. Lily came to her locker one morning with a glitter-covered get-well card, its cartoon cats and glittery stars hand-drawn with loving care. Inside, she had written simply, "You're still the bravest person I know." Later, Angela found a folded slip of notebook paper tucked into her binder. No name, no message, just a sketch, crude but kind, of a tiny superhero, cape flapping, a faint smile drawn on its face. Small gestures, quiet lifelines, they mattered more than anyone could know. Isabel, still reeling from the trauma, turned her guilt into fierce determination. She became vigilant. Every hotel room was now in operation. Flashlight in hand, peeling back mattress seams, inspecting headboards, keeping bags sealed and off the floor. Clothing was washed on the hottest settings, luggage sanitized, routines doubled and tripled in caution. She was done taking chances. But she refused to let it end there. When Angela's final test results came in, no residual infection, no complications, Isabel cried. She framed the official printout, slid it into a dollar store frame, and taped it to the refrigerator door. Not as decoration, but as proof, a marker of survival, a sign that they had come through the darkness and found the other side. On Angela's 13th birthday, Isabel gave her more than cake and gifts. She gave her a new beginning. A brand new bedroom set arrived, clean-lined and modern. Crisp bedding in soothing colors replaced the old. They painted the walls a gentle lavender, the color of twilight and calm. Isabel splurged on a premium bed-bug-proof mattress encasement. Together, they strung glow-in-the-dark stars across the ceiling, their fingers sticky with tape and paint. They laughed for the first time in what felt like forever, laughter that felt real and earned. That night, Angela lay back on her new bed, arms tucked behind her head, eyes scanning the soft glow of stars above. They blinked down at her, not like reminders of what she'd lost, but symbols of what still lay ahead: hope, healing, and the quiet promise of peace. Isabel stepped quietly into the room, the bedtime routine they'd reclaimed now a sacred comfort. She tucked the blanket around her daughter's legs, smoothing it gently, fingers pausing for a moment. Angela turned her head slightly, fingers brushing the scar beneath her hairline. It was still there, faint, pink, fading, a scar, yes, but no longer something to fear. She looked at her mother, her voice soft but sure. "I'm okay now," she whispered. And for the first time, she truly meant it.